Handoff Adrian up the middle, room to the 20, cuts to the left to the 25, and Adrian's loose! He splits the defense! 50, 40, 30, goodbye, baby! Touchdown!
We bleed purple, and our bones are gold. Hear the horns coming out of our dome, behold. We are Minnesota Vikings fans. We love when a player scores.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Purple People podcast for the final week of August here in 2013. The Minnesota Vikings finished up the preseason with a single-digit win, 24-23 over top of the Tennessee Titans. I am your host Kyle West, and taking a quick break from rounds of Call of Duty, I got Adam Carlson alongside me.
Can't shoot noobs all day, I tell you.
Nope, you gotta rest every now and then. Stay on top of your game, right?
That's right.
Yep.
But welcome everyone to the Purple People podcast. As Kyle said, I'm Adam Carlson. This is episode number 65 of the Purple People podcast, and this one is entitled McLeod-y with a Chance of Meatballs.
Oh, that's really clever and really stupid at the exact same time.
Oh yeah,
and
it is really dumb, but you know what? It's fun.
That is my new favorite title for any show.
Before we get started with our question from social media, I'd like to give a couple shout-outs. First one's to my man Dorian Foley. Great man. Awesome guy. One of the best Vikings fans there is out there. If you got a chance, see him online. Feel free to talk to him. Awesome dude.
Mm-hmm.
The second one, now, I might get a little criticism about this, but it is from a rival podcaster. I would like to thank Joey from the Purple Mafia show, because we've been working together to make both our experiences really good. And I'd like to thank him for talking with me and being able to put our show on each other's pages and everything. So thanks again, Joey, for everything.
Awesome stuff indeed, Adam. And then I think before we do the social media and we get in with all of our the funny podcast stuff that we usually talk about, I think maybe we should do a quick recap of Seth Olsen. I'm sure you have that someplace in your notes. I think we should start off with that and kind of get update on him a little bit out of the way first.
I'll be honest, I was going to save that for the game review, but I think that Seth Olsen would be a good way to lead off.
Mm-hmm.
I was watching the game, and from what I saw, and what I saw during the review, was that he took a knee to the helmet, and there was a lot of worry that it's a pretty severe neck injury.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Seth Olsen was working hard. He was one of those guys that had a chance to take one of those starting tackle jobs. They're not starting, but one of the rotating tackle jobs. And it really is a shame. Eric Sugarman, the trainer, he knew right away that he was going to need the cart, so he brought it out there. We did get to see the thumbs up on the way out, so that's a positive thing. All we can do is hope for the best for him.
Yeah, you pray for Seth Olsen in moments like those. That was a scary moment to witness on TV. Anytime, you don't want to see any player go down ever. I don't care if it's Minnesota Viking or a Green Bay Packer. I mean, you don't want to see anyone go down, especially when you're dealing with a head and neck like that. I think there was...
That can change someone's life completely.
Totally. I think there was 3 commercial breaks that they took. Like you said, they brought out the cart and actually, strapped him down and wheeled him out that way. Right before we started recording, I did read on Twitter that he was back in the stadium and walking around. And that was from like 3 or 4 different sources that tweeted that out. So I don't think the injury was that serious, but I did kind of want to get that out of the way, but just because of the serious nature of injuries like those potentially happening on the field. Kind of wanted to get that one.
At the time of the injury, it looked pretty wicked. I mean, the whole team was on one knee watching and wishing and praying, so and I hope the best for him. One
last thought on that, and then we'll get on to the social media question, which is a really fun one, and I think we're both going to have fun with this one this week. It was kind of surreal. There was that one shot of Travis Bond, and to me, Travis Bond reminds me so much of Corey Stringer, just the way they look. They look a lot like one another, and to see all the Vikings players down on one knee with a player getting carted off like that, and then you see Bond, who reminds me of Stringer. It's a very kind of surreal moment for how serious this game can be and how injuries can hit at any time. And that's kind of why I wanted to start the show off with that and say that even though we did get the reports that he was walking around and back in the stadium, that thoughts and prayers go out to Seth Olsen, and we hope that there's no lingering effects for whatever injuries he did sustain on the field.
Well, that is pretty apropos since the NFL just settled a court case for the neck and head victims.
Mm-hmm.
So, I like I said, I hope everything works out great for him. He's a hard worker, he's a good player, and I wish him the best.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and now let's kick on to kind of our regular format here. We're going to go with the social media question. This one comes from my friend Alex. Thanks for sending that in, Alex. And he wrote in, if Christian Ponder doesn't produce this year, do we try to pick up a new quarterback in the draft, or do we start Matt Castle? And then he goes on to ask, well, if we pick up a QB in the draft, Johnny Football, is he going to be a good pick? I am not a college draft expert kind of guy, so I'm going to pass on the Johnny Football part of this question. But I'm going to go for the earlier. If he doesn't produce this year, I'm going to go so far to even say that even if he has kind of an average year on the field where he has his ups and downs, yes, I do think they will look to the draft next year for another quarterback. That doesn't necessarily mean they're going to look in the first round. That just means they're going to be looking for another quarterback to bring in for competition for him. Yes, I do believe so.
My opinion on this is that if Christian Ponder has a season that is that poopy, that the team decides, okay, this is not our guy. Because so far, I haven't seen that from Ponder. I still think he has the skills, the ability, the intelligence to succeed. But if for some reason the team decides to go another direction after this season, I would love to see the team move up in the draft this year and get Mr. Teddy Bridgewater. That man is amazing, and I would love to see him in purple if Ponder can't handle the reins.
Okay, and for those of us who are not college football fanatics here, you want to maybe give a quick rundown what college he plays for and stuff for us here, Adam?
Instead of doing that, I'll just direct you to YouTube. Take a look at the guy. Look at his mobility. Look at his arm strength.
I will.
Just watch some games. The guy's a freak.
Yeah, hit me up on Facebook after the show and send me some links or something. I look forward to seeing that one. But yes, Alex, I do think, and the reason why I think so is that with Adrian coming into, he's 7 years in the league now, for a running back to go anything past 10, and we know he's superhuman, but at the end of the day, it's eventually going to catch up to him. He's not going to last forever, and I do think that they have to get the quarterback thing figured out before Adrian is in his 10th year and beyond for the Minnesota Vikings.
I agree. We can't have Adrian Peterson sitting there while the team is having trouble struggling finding other pieces of the puzzle. Talent like him doesn't come along very often.
No, it doesn't.
Well, let's move into the quick hits. Now, we saw Kevin Williams take that wicked hit, that low block that a lot of people are calling cheap. But we found out that it was a hyperextension. It is a sprain with some bone bruising. I've read up to 6 weeks out. That means it's a pain threshold kind of thing. So give him a little bit of time to heal. Maybe he'll be able to come back sooner than that. We'll have to wait and see.
He's a wily veteran. I believe he will be back much sooner than that.
In the meantime, we get to see Sharif Floyd, though.
You do. You took the words right out of my mouth, Adam. I was going to say that there's never a good time for one of your vested veterans like Kevin Williams to get injured. But if it's going to happen, why not happen when you've got Sharif Floyd, who can fill in and, fingers crossed, hopefully do an awesome job on the field for the Minnesota Vikings. that was a absolutely dirty, cheap shot that there is no place for in the league. And if you guys haven't, you should listen to the comments that Jared Allen has said about that, and he's correct.
Chad Greenway's also made comments about it, and Kevin Williams himself has. So, yeah, check him out if you get a chance, because it's really interesting.
Definitely.
On to some happier news. Adrian Peterson danced and played bingo with some of the kids at Minnesota's Children's Hospital. It's always nice to hear about members of the Minnesota Vikings giving back to the community, having fun, and just being who they are.
And then Roger Goodell fined him for excessive celebration.
Oh.
Because that's the kind of league that we have here in 2013.
Well, speaking of fines, we got that suspension from Jerome Felton.
Yeah.
3-game suspension stemming from his DUI last year.
Apparently.
He'll return in Week 4 against the Steelers.
Which opens up the door for Zach Line to probably make the roster for at least 4 games. But I guess this is something that the Vikings knew potentially could happen. Although, quite frankly, I completely forgot about that DUI from last year. And was just, when I heard that he got suspended, I was completely blown out of my computer chair.
I admit, I automatically thought it was PEDs.
Yeah, I'm like, what the fridge is going on here? I wasn't still not too happy about it, but I guess it happens. What can you do about it? It's going to give a young guy a shot to make the team, and he'll be back and hopefully in Pro Bowl form in a couple weeks for the Vikings.
Well, if you read Pro Football Focus, Rhett Ellison actually graded out as a better blocker than Jerome Felton last year. So I don't think we really have much to worry about.
We got 28 in the backfield. No matter who you put in front of him, we're going to be fine.
Last quick hit. It's kind of long. I apologize about that. But these are the guys that were cut on the first round. Wide receiver Lamarck Brown. Wide receiver Eric Highsmith. Guard Tyler Holmes. Defensive end Lawrence Jackson. Defensive end Marcus Jackson. Linebacker Stanford Keglar. Poor Keglar. I don't know what to say about that guy. Defensive back Greg McCoy. Wide receiver Chris Summers. Quarterback James Vandenberg, I guess.
Vandenberg.
Center Camden Wentz. Running back Gerodis Williams. Defensive back Roderick Williams. And running back Bradley Randall.
The only one that shocked me out of that was Bradley Randall.
I had 2 that surprised me.
I kind of thought Chris Summers was going to...
That was the other one.
Yeah, was going to... It's funny, guys, listening to the show, we don't discuss things like this beforehand, so it's interesting that we both had the same 2 players right there that we were surprised by. But I thought that Chris Summers was going to at least stick around until final roster cuts. And Bradley Randall, I was convinced was going to get a stronger look this week. And I really don't know why they cut him when they cut him.
It was really interesting timing, especially considering they were still battling it out for a spot there. I don't know. I'm going to miss seeing Bradley Randall on the field. I really thought he had a great chance of making the team. Chris Summers was a practice squad guy last year. The Vikings must have just said, hey, this guy isn't developing, and said, okay, that'll do it. But it is nice to see a couple other young guys make it, guys like Rodney Smith, Adam Thielen so far.
My only thoughts that I guess I could say about Bradley Randall is that potentially it could be the size, could be the reason why he didn't make it past the first roster cut down. Which would be understandable. He is a small guy. I do believe he will get picked up by some other team on their practice squad.
Oh, yeah, he's not done.
He's definitely not done in the NFL, and I will follow his career wherever he goes. And there is a small possibility sometimes a team can cut a player during the first round of cuts and then sign him to the practice squad. And the reason why they would do that is because you can kind of slide a guy under the radar. Because other teams right now are releasing all of their players, their first players, and they've still got a whole nother cut of players So you can kind of lose a guy in the shuffle a little bit and then get him back on the practice squad if you believe in him enough. I know Green Bay has done that in the past. I'm not saying that that's what they're doing with Bradley Randall because I have no idea. We do know that Rick Spielman he can be sly like that from time to time. So
True.
Maybe he ends up on our practice squad in Minnesota.
Now, when you're talking about the next round of cuts, those will be made by Saturday, August 31st at 5 p.m. Central Time.
Mm-hmm.
That is when the team must be down to 53 men. Now, that does not include guys that are on exemption for PUP or absence from the squad.
Uh-huh.
So the guys that are out for that right now will not count against that limit.
So that means for Minnesota Vikings fans, Christian Ballard, Jerome Felton, and Greg Childs will not count against the Vikings' 53-man roster.
It's true.
Mm-hmm. And until we said Felton comes back in week 4.
Right.
So they're going to have to cut someone in week 4 when Felton comes back to the team. It's the same thing as last year with Jerome Simpson.
Well, what you'll see a practice squatter come up and then drop back down to the practice squad in week 4. So someone from the practice squad will get cut. Musical chairs around, but we'll definitely keep you up to date on all that.
Probably Zach Line. That's kind of what I think is that Zach Line will make it, and then Felton comes back, and then he goes through the practice squad.
I don't think Zach Line will last on the practice squad, but that's just me.
Well, yeah, we'll see what happens,
but let's go into our game review. Do you want to lead us off on that?
Yeah, sure. Why don't we go ahead and talk about, let's just call him the MVP of the game. He had a big, long kickoff return, took in for a touchdown. 109-yard return, and then he had a nice interception for the Minnesota Vikings. You know who I'm talking about, Adam?
Are you talking about Bradley Randall?
I am not. I wish I was, but no. Marcus Sherrills, proving that you can never count a player out.
It's true. Most people on their projections already had him left off.
Just when you are ready to say he's been surpassed in the depth chart, he comes out and you go, I don't think I can ignore him after this game.
No.
It's a good problem to have. I don't want to sound like I'm complaining. I love seeing this from our guys fighting for the team. But
sure.
I do not envy whoever has to make the decision for the final 53, because it is a hard decision. But I was impressed with him in this 4th preseason game.
Another guy that really impressed me, and a guy that I really think might end up on the actual roster this year, and not just the practice squad, is Joe Banyard. Banyard came out and had an awesome game, and the Titans were playing a lot of their first-string guys through the first quarter.
Yeah. Even though...
So it's not like he was running against scrubs.
Mm-hmm.
Same with Matt Asiata, who also pulled up decent numbers against that defense. So I don't know. It's interesting.
That's an interesting competition too, because we've been hard on Asiata previously this preseason, but what we've seen from him today was a bit of a callback to what we've seen from Asiata last preseason, when I remember talking about how he should make the roster. Joe Banyard, I think, definitely did the most of the poker chips that were dealt to him in this week's game. 13 attempts, 62 yards, longest of 19. I think he looked pretty decent considering...
Don't forget about his 7 catches for 54 yards and a touchdown, too.
That, too. Like I said, I think he looked pretty decent considering that it is 4th preseason game, and I know that there were starters out there for a bit, but you got to kind of keep everything into perspective a bit for what was going on later in the game. But that's another competition that after this game, previously I would have said Asiata out, now I am not quite so confident with that. I could see it. I could see it going either way.
It's going to be tough to see Banyard, Asiata, or Line, because Asiata can't go to the practice squad.
Hmm.
If he ends up getting cut, he gets released. So, we're going to see either Line or Banyard. If both of them somehow end up on the 53, one of them will drop down when Felton comes back, and it probably would be Line. Because we did see Zach Line lining up in the fullback position this game, and he seemed to do a pretty decent job there. But we also saw him take 4 carries for 18 yards, which is another weird thing to look at, because now you're seeing him rushing with the ball, you're seeing him as a blocker, he's doing all these things, he's even splitting out for passes once in a while, so it's weird because Zach Line and Red Ellison are doing similar things, and I don't know if they need both, but man, they're both talented players.
They want to see versatility from Zach Line. Clearly, that's why they're using him in a multitude of positions out there on the field. And for a guy like him to make the roster, ultimately, it's going to come down to versatility and being able to do multiple things. I think it was Paul Allen in tonight's telecast called him a poor man's Toby Gerhart when he was lined up in the backfield. I thought that was pretty funny.
They both had similar success at college level.
Yeah.
It was weird seeing the Titans' first-string offense going against the Vikings' second-string defense, and having that second-string defense actually not break. There were spots where it bent, but it's awesome to see this Vikings second-team defense holding off a first-team offense. That's reassuring.
Yeah, they held them to a field goal, and yes, you can say the same thing for them that we've said for weeks for us. They didn't have Chris Johnson in the game, and he's nowhere near the running back that Adrian Peterson is.
Oh, Jackie Battle's no slouch, though.
But, yeah, exactly. And he's got an sidebar. That's like the coolest name for a running back ever. Just to have Battle as your last name. That's just awesome.
Oh, yeah.
But, no, it was nice to see. It was a nice test for our second-string guys to have some first-string Titans offense to play against.
I don't know, I'm going to disagree with you for just 1 second and say that the coolest running back last name is Tim Biakabatuka.
I will agree with you on that one.
Because that name could stretch across anyone's shoulders. It was crazy on a jersey. But let's talk about a couple more defensive standouts. We had Desmond Bishop with 7 tackles. He was flying around. He could have very well earned that outside linebacker position today.
He looked really good for the Vikings today. That is what we want to see from Desmond Bishop.
I was very critical of him after that second game where he looked really rusty and slow. And since then, he has picked it up and he has been flying. He has been playing well. He's been getting tackles. And with Bishop, Greenway, and Aaron Henderson, those 3 guys, I don't know if any team's going to be able to get a lot of guys past them in the run game because those are 3 thumpers right there.
And Adam, what do you do with McLeod-y?
Take him out for ice cream?
Well, no, I don't know if he likes ice cream or not. But
I'll ask him.
Yeah, we'll have to tweet him on Twitter and find out. But roster-wise, what do you do with McLeod-y? Where does he fit into this equation?
Well, you heard Spielman during the show say that Maudy is prototypically a middle linebacker.
Uh-huh.
Now, when I'm looking over the list of linebackers in Minnesota, I don't see a lot of guys that couldn't play middle linebacker, but that I would feel comfortable there. I mean, you got Audie Cole, and you got Michael Maudy.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be interesting to see the competition for the backup there, because I think in the end they're going to end up just grabbing a handful of linebackers and plug them in where they can, just grabbing the best. Because when you try to plug and play and say, okay, I need a backup outside, weak side linebacker, you can't really set up your lineup like that because otherwise you're going to going to end up cutting guys that are more talented that can play different spots.
Precisely.
So Mauty's one of those guys that's talented enough to make the 53, but I'm not quite sure he's ready there yet.
Mm-hmm.
But if you try to stash him on the practice squad, I don't know if he'll last.
Someone snatches him if you try to go the practice squad route with McLeod-y. The guy has a nose for the football. Wherever the football seems to be, McLeod-y seems to be around it. And I do believe that he's got to have a couple seasons underneath him before he really gets to the level that you want him to be at. But 2 or 3 years down the line, I think McLeod-y is going to turn into a really, really good player for the Minnesota Vikings. I'm excited.
I could see him end up taking Tyrone McKenzie's spot.
Mm-hmm.
Because McKenzie wasn't very impressive this preseason. As a matter of fact, I think we've seen more from Larry Dean than we have from Tyrone McKenzie.
Yeah. And Larry Dean is a bit of an underrated animal, too, on this
He is.
Vikings team. Not a lot of people talk about Larry Dean, but here's a guy who goes out there and plays special teams really well and really hard, and then when he's called upon to rotate into games, he can make plays out there with the rest of the defense, too.
It's true.
Mm-hmm.
We saw Bobby Felder with a couple nice pass defense. We also saw him make a mistake and give up a long one, but that happens.
Mm-hmm.
It's preseason, that's what it's all about.
Oh, I know what a player I wanted to talk about. One of our 3 draft choices, Xavier Rhodes, had that flag that was thrown on him for pass interference. And that is my biggest area of concern with Xavier, is that he wants to play physical. He wants to get his hands all up and all around people, all around receivers, which is fine if he's within 5 yards. He's got to learn when to disconnect from them. Otherwise, he's going to get flagged and flagged time and time again at a pro level for doing that. Hopefully, he can learn from what happened in this game, because I love to see the aggressive nature, but we can't have the team get penalized up and down the field like that.
It's very different to see that kind of coverage from the Vikings team that we have known for the past couple years. Because recently it's been a lot of cover 2, a lot of playing off. We haven't seen a lot of the press, a lot of the man.
Mm-hmm.
It's very cool to be able to mix some of the man in with the zone to be able to help confuse the offenses and give them different looks. So learning to play cornerback is a skill at this level that is different from the college level. Not only because it's the rules and the levels of talent, but because of the teamwork aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's something that Rhodes will learn with time. So I'm not really 100% worried about that, but I'm willing to give him some time to take his lumps.
Oh, totally. I'm not overly worried about it, but it is a point of concern. I think early on in the season, I'm not so much worried about how he's going to hold up, because I believe that he's talented enough physically and smart enough mentally that he'll be able to hold up wherever the Vikings put him. I just think that that's going to be the biggest area of concern, is potentially him getting a lot of flags thrown his direction. I think it's going to be fun to see how they use him against Detroit. I know that Chris Cook has traditionally been the guy that we've stuck on Calvin Johnson, but I'm wondering how much they would be willing to put Xavier on Megatron.
Well, I don't know what's going on with Chris Cook's hip.
That's right.
Groin injury. So
I completely forgot about that.
We may see Rhodes anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Because as much as I like Josh Robinson, I think that would be a pretty poor matchup.
Yeah, I do too. That's an interesting story to look for, Vikings fans, going into that Detroit game. Xavier Rhodes and Megatron. The X-Man versus the Transformer. Let's see what happens on the field.
Good old Dusty. All right, here's a question for you, Kyle.
Okay.
I'm going to switch over to offense for a minute. Should Christian Ponder have played in this game?
Honestly, yes.
I think so, too.
Yeah. I don't think that you want a bunch of your starters out there on the field, but yes, he should have been out there for at least a series or two, potentially even longer than that, because I think he needs the time to shake off rust, whatever analogy you want to use. I think he needs that time, that playing time to get ready for this season.
I don't like to doubt the strategies that the Minnesota Vikings have. Normally, I have 100% faith in them, but I really would have liked to have seen Christian Ponder out there throwing a couple passes, feeling a little more comfortable in the pocket, just something, anything. Maybe he'll come out week 1 and he'll be rested better or have a clearer mind or something. I don't know, but to me, I would have liked to have seen him out there.
Me too, and here's why. Because week 1 comes around, and let's say Ponder is rusty, and he has a Donovan McNabb-style game in Minnesota, where he just looks awful. As soon as that happens, this fan base turns volatile.
Oh, yeah.
On a dime, you've got people calling for Matt Castle. You've got people calling for Matt Castle already. This is why Ponder... Now, I know you can say the Vikings really don't care what the fans think, but when you got an entire Metrodome stadium potentially booing your starting quarterback, that's not really something the Vikings want to go into. Because I've never been concerned about Ponder's ability to make throws on the field. I think he's got the arm strength to do whatever. He can make any pass you want him to make. I think he can do it. I think mentally, I think he gets out of it from time to time, and that's what causes him to get happy feet and dance in the pocket and do some of the negative things that we don't like from him. And if he looks rusty, and if the crowd turns on him, I think that can affect Ponder mentally, and that's not a situation the Vikings want to enter.
No, and even with Matt Castle going 3 for 3 for 48 yards, Twitter was lighting up saying, man, this guy is way better. And his longest pass wasn't really that incredible.
I don't even have that.
I don't have that stat either. I was looking for it, but it's not there. Even McLeod-Bethel-Thompson, people were talking about, hey, he's better than either of our 1 or 2. It's like, come on.
Well, I jokingly tweeted out that, because, I'm hard on Ponder, but I'm also a Ponder supporter. I believe in him and think he can get it done for Minnesota. But sure. I like to keep it real with, what I think about him. But I jokingly tweeted out that Joe Banyard, after having 13 carries for 62 yards, that makes him our starting running back. If you base that on if you base his production on Ponder logic, he has outplayed Adrian Peterson in preseason so far.
True, I had to retweet that because that just blew my mind. I was like, wow, he hit the nail on the head on that one.
Yeah, because that's exactly, and that's, I think, where both me and Adam are trying to come from with people jumping on Matt Castle being the starter so far. It's like, take a step back a minute and let's see what happens and put everything into perspective before we really jump on players like that.
Joe Webb had 7 targets and 5 catches for 38 yards.
Mm-hmm.
I really think that Joe Webb is almost a lock to make this roster now.
And Stephen Burton had 1 catch for 14 yards. That was a matchup. What was that?
On 2 targets.
On 2 targets? Okay. That was a matchup that I was looking for coming into this game, was how was Stephen Burton and Joe Webb going to shake out on the field. And I think Joe Webb did the most of his opportunities.
I do too.
Yeah. I'm still not that big of a fan of Joe Webb.
His height and athleticism can help him as a wide receiver, but not as much as a quarterback.
Totally. And you know what? You know what his strong suit might be as a receiver? Even if it's just being a big body for the red zone.
Yeah, like Plexico was for the Giants.
Honestly, maybe there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
Maybe
Speaking of big-bodied wide receivers, though, my boy, Rodney Smith.
Yeah. That was a nice catch by Rodney Smith.
It was. He is going to be stashed on the practice squad. You can bet on that. He won't make 53 this year, sadly. I like the guy. I want him to make the 53, but I don't think he will.
I don't think there's too much other business going on at the receivers right now for him to do that. And he's
Plus,
not.
he could also use another year to develop.
Exactly. He's not quite there to be called up to an active 53 roster. But I think you give him another year to go through whatever a practice squad player I don't even know what they do during the regular season. Play Tetris on their iPhone. I don't know.
Sure.
And give him another training camp in preseason, and maybe he's a more viable option for Minnesota in 2014.
Did Chase Ford get himself cut today?
Yes, I think he did.
He, I believe, was a practice squad player last year. I think. I'm not 100% positive. I'm thinking.
I don't have that. I can keep talking. Give me a minute. I'll look it up.
But he also should have developed more within that year. And I think that this is a situation similar to Summers, where I don't think they saw enough development made in order to keep him on the roster.
Yeah, and I just don't believe that we've really... I don't know, he hasn't really flashed. Let's see, he spent time on 3 practice squads as a rookie in 2012, playing with Minnesota, Dallas, and Philadelphia.
Oh, bouncing around.
So he's been around a couple practice squads, so maybe I should retract what I was in the middle of saying. Clearly, 3 different teams have felt enough of him to sign him to a practice squad, so we'll see what happens. I don't think that he makes it for the Vikings this year.
No, I think the Vikings are pretty set at their tight ends.
I do too.
Yeah, we got Rudolph, we got Carlson, we got Ellison. I think that's what we're going to see.
Carlson John Carlson, has impressed me heartily. I
like it.
Not just in this game, but I think all 4 of the preseason games, we've actually seen a healthy John Carlson and what he can do for the offense, and I like it. I think we're going to get to see some good production from him and Kyle Rudolph this year.
Yeah, I used to watch him in Seattle. He, has my namesake, so why not, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I followed him, and I know what he's capable of. And what he showed last year is not what he's capable of. So I'm excited to see what he does this year now that he's healthy and focused. Keep our fingers crossed on him.
It was a weird set of circumstances for him. You know what, I'm not going to let you wrap up this show without us talking about how horrible Jeff Locke did on holding the football for the field goal units for the Vikings tonight. Folks, you can talk about Chris Cluey's punts however much you want, and yes, he had some bad ones last year, wasn't the best, but him as a holder, highly underrated part of the Vikings special teams unit. And you're seeing Jeff Locke fumble the ball and not get it in the correct spot, and it's causing Blair Walsh to miss. And I don't like it. I don't like it one bit.
He's a rookie, man. Let him give him time.
He has...
Either that, or after the Raiders cut Cluey, they can consider bringing him back.
Well, for one thing, if the Raiders are dumb enough to cut Chris Cluey...
They've got Marquette King. The guy can punt almost twice as far as Cluey can.
I don't even know who that is. I don't even care who that is. If the Raiders are dumb...
His name's Marquette King. You know he's great.
Yeah, he sounds like an idiot.
King.
I don't like him at all. If the Raiders cut Cluey, the Vikings should cut Locke and bring Kluey back to the team. I'm saying it right now.
The sad thing is you're serious.
I'm joking. I'm joking here, people. I really like Jeff Locke as a punter. I hope that he gets this holding thing corrected. It irks me a little bit because he's really only got two things that he has to do for the team: punt the ball and hold the ball. And if he's not doing a good enough job at one of them, that's like a 50% failure rate.
Hey, he's an emergency kickoff guy, too.
Well, and that's like one step removed from punting the ball at him.
And he kicked field goals, too, if the field goal kicker gets hurt.
My point is, though, specialists don't do anything at all during training camp except work on the two things that they do. So he's had plenty of time to figure out how to hold a football. Get out there and hold the football, Jeff Locke.
The one last guy I want to talk about before I'm done, A.J. Jefferson. Did you see his return where he refused to go down?
I did.
That's a lot of heart there.
Yeah.
A lot of heart and a lot of power.
Mm-hmm.
But we saw Marcus Sherrill's return and people kind of forgot about A.J. Jefferson.
My favorite, I have to mention this every single time it happens because it is a rarity that it does happen.
Oh, we're talking about a catch here, aren't we?
We're talking about a catch. Adam knows the catch that I'm talking about. DeMarcus Love picked up a pass, should have been an interception. The ball ended up in front of him, and he caught it like it was just a great big old cheeseburger coming down in front of him. And I love anytime one of the big guys like that get a football. And he ran with it for the official stat was 1 reception for 10 yards.
That's what I've got.
For DeMarcus Love. I wonder if he kept the football.
I'd consider it.
I know it's preseason, but
those big fellas don't get to touch the ball too often like that.
It doesn't. And that's why I always have to make special mention of when the big guys get the football like that.
Well, that'll do it for me. Do you have anything else you'd like to talk about?
Detroit is who we kick the season off with. The games are going to count here really, really shortly. And don't undersell Detroit, Vikings fans. They are a much improved team from what they've been in previous years. And it'll be a fun game. There is going to be a lot of interesting stories to watch in that one for sure. We don't quite know what the 53 is going to look like, but we do know that with 28 in the backfield, the Vikings will always stand a chance to make any game competitive and fun to watch. So I'm definitely looking forward to kicking off the regular season.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to thank everyone for listening. I'd especially like to thank you if you laughed at the title of McLeod-y with a chance of meatballs. Because
I love that.
I got a kick out of that.
I love that. Is my favorite thing ever.
Thanks again, everyone. Check us out on iTunes, Facebook, Twitter. You know where we are if you want to get a hold of us. And stay classy, Minnesota.
We bleed purple and our bones are gold. Hear the horns coming out of our dome. Behold, we are Minnesota Vikings fans. We love when a player scores. We roar, ignite the stands. We bleed purple and our bones are gold. We're the kings of the north. Our slogan skull. No packer, no bear, no lion can beat us. We will punish anyone if they try to defeat us. He's the MVP, appreciated greatly. Running all day, 2K, that's AP. Make a defense cry, or maybe beg. ACL stands for Adrian's crazy leg. He's the heart of the team. 28 holding up that Lombardi is a part of the dream. We will never give up. We find the faith to move past.